Now, it was very important for us here at dedoc to talk a lot about Ukraine today, but we also believe that there are many other crises, countries, war zones, and issues that also demand our attention and our support. So we specifically decided to invite a person with diabetes from Gaza, from Palestine. I'm so excited that Mohammed Seyam is here to share his story of advocacy growing up in Palestine, in Gaza.
Thank you so much for having me. Of course, it's a pleasure to be here and share my voice and my experience as a diabetic in the Gaza Strip. And before I start talking, let me say that we're all here to support and share our stories to help people with diabetes all around the globe, especially right now, people in Ukraine with the crisis happening in their countries at the moment. So to start things, I'll be more specific to talk about the Gaza Strip in particular, and this also reflects on every other city or place around the country of Palestine. So the Gaza Strip, just to get things undergoing, is under a suffocating siege since 2006, and of course this is surely affecting and damaging every aspect of life in the Strip, and this has left the healthcare system with an ongoing chronic shortage of medical supplies, quantity and quality-wise. Here of course, like people living with diabetes are an important part of the population being affected by everything happening around. And to get things started, we have two main suppliers of the primary healthcare in Palestine, the government and the UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. And of course, we have others such as, the NGOs and the private sectors that are working around the country. Right now, when it comes to the government and the UNRWA clinics, where people with diabetes go and get their medications and supplies, it's not that much different between the two sectors, between the two suppliers. But in general, we don't get the chance to see an endocrinologist in those clinics. It's just like being able to see a family doctor at its best for 5 to 10 minutes. We do lack a comprehensive healthcare system generally. So just like you only see a family doctor or a general practitioner and that's it. You won't be able to see a nurse or a dietitian or a psychiatrist, for example, if you want some help. We don't have a national database or registry system. We don't have access to all required and needed types of medications, especially insulin or other diabetes medications. And we have completely zero access of diabetes technologies in the Gaza Strip. But generally, when you go to those sectors that I've just mentioned, the government or the UNRWA clinics, you'd be able to get some sort of insulin. In the UNRWA clinics, you can get test strips as a type 1 diabetic. As a type 1 diabetic, you won't be able to do that in a governmental clinic. Therefore, most people being treated in the governmental clinic tend to buy their test strips out of their own pockets, or some people, especially children with diabetes, rely on NGOs, funds and donations to get the supplies that they need. And of course, generally as a developing country, we do lack the knowledge and education when it comes to diabetes, both on a healthcare level and on a community level, with all the discrimination and the stigma happening against people living with diabetes. Therefore, diabetes communities and support groups experiences in general tend to fail, mostly because of what I mentioned earlier, and how people with diabetes and the community in general treat people with diabetes, treat other people with diabetes, or look at other people with diabetes. So I've been advocating for diabetes for almost 4 years right now, and throughout my journey, I have experienced and learned a lot due to the current situation in my country, other people's experiences, what I've heard and what I've experienced myself, me meeting a lot of other diabetics in the country, and of course from all around the world, whom I consider part of like family members for me. And I'm someone who believes that believes in the diabetes community and the power that we all have. And I believe that we're all like amazing human beings that can change not only our lives, but also the world itself, the whole world. And in the Gaza Strip, we have done a few things. So I'm going to share some milestones that we've been able to get throughout the past 4 years. The first one is that we were able to get or to conduct the first ever diabetes camp in the Gaza Strip that happened 2 years ago, and currently we're thinking about conducting a new one, maybe this summer or maybe later this year. The second thing is following the attacks on the Gaza Strip, the Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip last year, exactly 1 year ago, we were able to support and help the diabetes community with a lot of emergency kits, and finally we were able to get insulin analogs, insulin pens available for free for every person living with diabetes in Palestine, all across the country, which is extremely beneficial, extremely helpful for everybody, because people used to compromise and sacrifice buying goods and food for their families or for their children to buy the basics of what they need to survive due to the expenses of the supplies, especially talking about analogs and test strips, maybe endocrinologist visits and things like that. So, and talking about the situation in the Gaza Strip being under siege for more than 16 years right now, not everybody could afford what I've just mentioned due to the poverty and unemployment rates that are skyrocketing. We're currently working very hard on developing a national diabetes guidelines with the help of the government, the UNRWA, and of course, a lot of the policymakers that we're in contact with. And we've discussed with them the possibility of conducting an educational program, because we need such programs to help the community of people living with diabetes and the healthcare system as well, as it's not that helpful when it comes to the educational part for people living with diabetes. So finally, let me say that, like, moral of the story, advocacy takes time, and I'm someone who, like, when I started everything, I thought that I'd be able to change a lot in a short period of time. But it takes time, and changing the healthcare system or talking to a policymaker or to a decision maker is not as easy as we might think. But eventually we will reach our goals, and we'll be able to take one step ahead of what we're doing at the moment. We were able to get insulin analogs available for free. We're working very hard to get other supplies available for free for every diabetic in Palestine, and change, hopefully, the whole diabetes situation in the country, maybe regionally and globally as well. Because I believe as a diabetic, the diabetics around the globe, we all have our voices, and our voices are loud, and it will eventually always be heard. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I'm so thrilled to hear about this huge advocacy win of making insulin available. We all know access to insulin and to healthcare in general is a human right, so it's amazing to see the progress that you've made there. Now, before you go, Mohammed, I'm in no way a professional moderator, but people will be very impressed with me very soon. Your last name, explain to us why it matters so much to you with just a few words.
Yeah, well, most of the people around me, people who know me, call me fasting. As a diabetic, this means a lot. My last name is Seyam in Arabic. In English, it means fasting. Yeah, last month we had Ramadan as Muslims, and we fast during Ramadan. So most people, it's just like my nickname. People, translate Siyam to fasting, and they just call me fasting. So yeah, during Ramadan, I've been called fasting a lot. And as a type 1 diabetic, I do fast during Ramadan, although it's risky, but I do know a lot about diabetes as an educator and as a doctor with a lot of experience. I fast, and I advise people whether to fast or not, and I educate them a lot. So yeah, during that last month, I've been cold fasting a lot, and I really enjoy it, to be honest.
That's great. It's amazing. So the name is not just beautiful, it's also incredibly meaningful. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for joining us.